In this guide, I'll show you the classic Mount Rigi round trip that most visitors do, what hiking on Rigi actually looks like, some lesser known experiences, what you can do here in winter, and more. This is Switzerland Insider. My name is Greg. I'm Swiss. Mount Rigi sits in central Switzerland close to Lucerne. The highest point is Rigi Kulm at 1,798 meters above sea level. That already tells you something very important. Rigi is a real mountain, but it's not extremely high compared to many other Swiss peaks. And that is exactly why it is so popular. It's high enough to give you proper mountain and lake views, but still easy enough to reach without complicated planning. You can come here by boat, cogwheel train, cable car, or a regular train connection also, and that makes Rigi one of the easiest mountain days from Lucerne. Rigi is often called the Queen of Mountains. That name is partly marketing today, of course, but it also comes from a long tourism history. People have been coming up here for views, fresh air, and mountain stays for a very long time already. And today, most visitors come for a simple reason. You can combine a lake cruise, a historic mountain railway, short hikes, restaurants, and big views into one day without needing a car. The classic way to visit Mount Rigi from Lucerne is the round trip. You start in Lucerne and take the boat across Lake Lucerne to Vitznau. On some departures, this route is still served by historic paddle steamers, which gives you an impression what travel must have felt like more than 100 years ago. Now, once you arrive in Vitznau, you board the cogwheel train up the mountain. This line opened in 1871 and is considered Europe's first mountain railway. Of course, today you usually travel with newer trains, but the route itself is still historic. The train takes you up toward Rigi Kulm. From the station, you'll still have a short walk to the summit, and from up there, you get the main Rigi view over Lake Lucerne, Lake Zug, Lake Lauerz, and the Alps, as well as the surrounding hills. Right below the very summit, you'll also find the Rigi Kulm Hotel, with its large panoramic terrace. It's a great place to stop for lunch, have a drink, or simply enjoy the views for a little longer. But you don't have to eat there. Across Mount Rigi, you'll find plenty of smaller mountain restaurants along the hiking trails and around different stations. Personally though, I'd even consider bringing a packed lunch. There are benches all over the mountain, and having a picnic with views over the lakes and the Alps is hard to beat. It's also a nice way to take a break whenever you find your favorite viewpoint instead of planning your day around a restaurant. Then, a lot of people take the train back down after this. I wouldn't do that. I think Rigi is much better if you walk between the stations. Especially the hike from Rigi Kulm down to Rigi Kulm is a really nice way to experience the mountain without making the day too difficult. And if you have time, take the detour to Känzeli. It's one of the best viewpoints on Rigi. You can also visit Känzeli from Rigi Kulm on a mostly straight gravel road in about 15 minutes. So you don't need to do a big hike to get there. From Rigi Kulm, most visitors continue by cogwheel train back down to Vitznau. But another good option is to take the cable car down to Weggis. Then you walk through the village to the pier. Weggis is one of the more unusual villages on Lake Lucerne. And because of its mild climate, you see a lot of palm trees and Mediterranean-looking gardens. And for a moment, it doesn't feel like the Switzerland many visitors expect. Then, from either Vitznau or Weggis, you take the boat back to Lucerne, and that completes the classic Rigi round trip. Now, if you're just getting started with planning your Switzerland trip, I also have a free Switzerland planning starter pack. It includes 2 guides that help you understand the basics and choose the right train pass for your trip. You can download it for free at switzerlandinsider.com/start or linked below. Now, while the round trip from Lucerne is by far the most popular way to experience Mount Rigi, it's certainly not the only one. If you're staying in Zurich, for example, it often makes more sense to reach Rigi via Arth-Goldau. From there, you can board a different cogwheel train directly and reach the summit without taking the boat first. Another popular option is the cable car, obviously from Weggis to Rigi Kulm. This is a great choice from Lucerne, and if you're mainly interested in hiking or spending time around Rigi Kulm. Of course, you can also mix these routes. For example, you could take the cogwheel train up from Vitznau and come back via Weggis, as we mentioned before, or do it the other way around. That's one of the nice things about Mount Rigi. You're not tied to one fixed route and can easily adjust the day to fit your plans. While most visitors stay around Rigi Kulm and Rigi Kulm, Mount Rigi is actually much bigger than that. One place I really like is Seebodenalp. You reach it by cable car from Küsnacht, but you can also drive up there by car and just pay for parking. Compared to the summit area, Seebodenalp feels much more local and relaxed. There are easy walking trails, mountain restaurants, meadows with cows, and great views over Lake Lucerne and towards Pilatus. You can technically also hike from Seebodenalp all the way up to Rigi Kulm, but be aware, that is not just a short scenic walk, it's a proper climb and takes a little bit of effort. So I would only do this if you actually want a longer mountain hike. Another area worth mentioning is Burggeist, that is above the village of Gersau. You reach it by cable car from Obergschwend. By public transport, it's a bit more tricky because the bus connection from Gersau is not as straightforward as the classic Rigi route. But you'll manage if you check the timetable properly. Now, Burggeist receives far fewer visitors than Rigi Kulm or Rigi Kulm, so it has a much more local feel. In summer, you'll find hiking trails, also mountain restaurants, and many quiet corners of the mountain. And technically, you can also hike from this side towards Rigi Kulm and the Kulm area, but these are also hikes that take a bit longer. And that's really what I like about Mount Rigi. Most people think it's just one summit with one viewpoint. In reality, it's an entire mountain region with different villages, hiking areas, cable cars, restaurants, and local corners. Many people do not actually ever see all of it. Mount Rigi is not just a summer destination. During winter, the mountain turns into a smaller but very enjoyable winter sports area. You'll find several ski slopes spread across different parts of the mountain. They are nowhere near the size of the big ski resorts in the Alps, but that's also not the point. And if skiing isn't your thing, there are also several sledging runs. One of the most popular ones starts right at Rigi Kulm and heads down towards Staffel. Another one can be found around Burggeist. Sledges can usually be rented right at the mountain, and that makes it a very cool activity for a couple of hours. Now, winter is also a fantastic time for hiking. Many of the main walking paths are prepared after snowfall, so you can enjoy the views without needing snowshoes. Walking between Rigi Kulm, Rigi Staffel and Rigi Kulm is especially popular when the conditions are good. Mount Rigi is basically the flagship mountain included in the Swiss Travel Pass. If you have the Swiss Travel Pass, it includes the boat on Lake Lucerne, both cogwheel railways from Vitznau and Arth-Goldau, as well as the cable car between Weggis and Rigi Kulm. That means you can do the classic Rigi round trip from Lucerne to the summit and back without paying anything extra. And that is one reason why so many visitors with the Swiss Travel Pass choose Rigi as their mountain day from Lucerne. That matters because a full fare Rigi round trip can easily cost around 130 Swiss francs, that's more than $150 US, that depending on the route. So, if you already have the Swiss travel pass, Rigi is actually one of the best places to use it. Now, if that sounds like something you would want to do and you would like to support the channel at the same time, you can book your tickets and passes through the affiliate links in the description below. Now, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps me continue making free Switzerland guides like this one. Also, the good news is that you don't need a seat reservation for the Rigi mountain railways. You just buy the right ticket or show your pass and board the next available train, boat or cable car. Now, if you're buying regular tickets, you simply pay for each part of the journey separately. Now, if you have the Swiss half-fare card, all mountain railways on Mount Rigi are 50% off. Same applies to the boats on Lake Lucerne. Then we have the Lucerne travel pass, which also covers the classic Rigi round trip. So if you're spending several days in central Switzerland, this could also be a very good option. And of course, if you're using the Save a Day pass, the classic Rigi round trip is included also. But one important detail, if you visit other parts of the mountain like Seebodenalp or Burggeist, it changes. In those areas, Swiss travel pass usually only gives you a discount on the mountain lifts. Now, it doesn't cover the entire experience the same way. Now, before you visit, here are a few practical tips that are worth knowing. First of all, Mount Rigi is one of the few mountains in Switzerland where you do not have to rush your visit. In summer, the last cogwheel train usually leaves from the summit past 10 p.m. So you have plenty of time to enjoy dinner, catch the sunset, or simply spend a relaxed evening on the mountain. But during these later hours, the trains don't usually run as often anymore. The gaps between the departures become longer, so you should check the timetable before you decide to stay late. And keep one more thing in mind. The boats on Lake Lucerne don't usually run that late into the evening. So if you stay until sunset, you'll most likely have to return to Lucerne by train via Arth-Goldau or Küsnacht instead. Then I also recommend checking the weather before you go. Mount Rigi is all about the views, and on cloudy days you can easily end up above or inside the clouds. But luckily, it's a great thing you can see the summit from Lucerne and the boat pier there also. Now, by hiking, although most of the trails are gravel, proper footwear is always a good idea. And most of the trails are well maintained, but you're still on the mountain. Now, if you plan to walk between the stations, bring enough water and don't forget sunscreen, especially during summer, because much of the routes are exposed. So, is Mount Rigi worth visiting? For me, as a local, absolutely. I actually think Mount Rigi is one of the most versatile mountains in Switzerland. There aren't many places where you can combine a historic paddle steamer, Europe's first mountain railway, panoramic hiking trails, many restaurants, cable cars, and quiet local spots, as well in winter sports, and all that together with spectacular lake views, all that together again on one mountain. And that's exactly why Mount Rigi deserves a special place in my heart, and it should also have that on your Switzerland itinerary. And this is exactly where having a clear plan helps. I've created itineraries and travel guides that cover everything you actually need to know about each area. They include done-for-you itineraries, destination breakdowns with many places that are not as crowded, city guides where applicable, and of course, places to eat and stay. So you know where to eat Swiss dishes, but also international cuisine. You'll find them at switzerlandinsider.com/guides or linked below. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon around in Switzerland. Bis bald und tschüss.